We at the Everything Red Deer podcast acknowledge that it is recorded on Treaty 6 and Treaty 7 land, as well as on a historic gathering place of the Métis. We thank the elders and knowledge keepers who remain with us today and those who've gone before us. This acknowledgement is small, but meant nonetheless as an act of reconciliation and gratitude.
Local, credible, now. You're listening to the Everything Red Deer podcast, powered by RD News Now. We talk to the movers, shakers, and newsmakers around Red Deer and Central Alberta, then bring those interviews to you. And now, here's your host, Josh Hall.
Hey everybody, yes, this is the Everything Red Deer podcast. Thanks once again for joining me. Today is March 14th, and that means it's Pie Day, 3.14. So make sure you get some good apple pie, some good pumpkin pie. That's my favorite, pumpkin pie. This week on the podcast, we're talking hoops. Yes, the story of the week is that the Canadian Elite Basketball League, or the CEBL, is coming to Red Deer. Much more on that in just a moment. First, it's In Case You Missed It. Here we go, this week on rdnewsnow.com. Yes, the CEBL is coming to Red Deer, and we're going to dive deeper into that shortly, but we do have an extensive story on that announcement on our website now. Elsewhere in Central Alberta news, do you remember that building downtown that was severely damaged by fire in October of 2021 where La Casa Pergola was? Well, it's finally being demolished. The city confirms that should be complete by June. Red Deer RCMP are hosting their annual Shred It event for Fraud Prevention Month, March 26th at the Red Deer Skate Park next to Service Arena, 12 to 4 p.m., limit of 3 boxes or bags per vehicle. Speaking of the RCMP, Innisfail Detachment arrested 16 people over the course of 3 days earlier this month with assistance from the Fugitive Apprehension Sheriff's Support Team, or FAST, and that included a Red Deer man who was wanted Canada-wide. As well, Alberta RCMP are investigating a suspected homicide in the Bauer area after a deceased woman was found in a Bauer apartment building off of 30th Street. Another big story this week, the City of Red Deer and City Council issued a statement of confidence in the leadership of Red Deer Emergency Services. This after union members held a non-binding vote to show their non-confidence in said leadership. That issue largely pertains to funding changes and staffing issues at Fire Hall Number 2, which we have extensive coverage on at our website. And we learned this week that Nova Chemicals, which operates a polyethylene plant in Joffre, north of Red Deer, is part of an international merger. The company, Nova Chemicals, is being bought for $13.4 billion. In other sports news, the Red Deer Rebels have managed to keep their slim WHL playoff hopes alive this week with wins over the Swift Current Broncos and Moose Jaw Warriors, so good for them. They have 5 games remaining, including tonight at home to Prince Albert. Basically, Red Deer would need to run the table and have Swift Current lose each of their remaining 5 games in regulation. It's a grim picture, but the team has played with a lot of heart the last month, putting together 6 wins in their last 10 games. Lastly, congratulations go out to 2 Red Deer products. They are Easton Deneau of the Drumheller Dragons and Cooper Moore of the Lloydminster Bobcats, both in the Alberta Junior Hockey League. Those 2 were named this week as finalists for the AJHL Rookie of the Year award. That was In Case You Missed It. All right, back to the story of the week. June 19th at the Westerner Park Centrium, catch the Calgary Surge and the Edmonton Stingers in the first regular season game this league has held at a neutral site. RD News Now's Ian Gustafson was down at the Centrium on Wednesday for the big announcement and caught up with some important folks who've made this happen, including Vice Chairman and President of the Surge, Jason Ribeiro, as well as CEBL Commissioner Mike Morreale and Red Deer Mayor Ken Johnston. We'll hear from them shortly. Now, of course, everyone loves a good Battle of Alberta, so where better to hold this CEBL game than halfway between the two big cities? From those folks I just mentioned, you're going to hear them talk a bit about the basketball culture in Red Deer and just how popular it is here. Now, if you doubt that, well, I'll take you back to 2019 when the Toronto Raptors went on to win their first NBA title. The city held watch parties during the finals at Service Arena, and that place was packed. I was down there for a couple games myself. Then you look at Red Deer Polytechnic and the Kings and Queens programs over the years. The Kings were ACAC champions back-to-back in 2013 and 2014. They also won national silver in 2014. On the Queens side, ACAC gold in 2023, and then a fourth-place finish at nationals. That season, the team actually won 25 straight games. They also won national bronze back in 1992. There are also really strong basketball programs in the high schools here. In fact, École H.J. Cody High School in Sylvan Lake is hosting the ASAA 3A Girls Basketball Championship March 20th to 22nd. Games will also take place at Fox Run School. And Old Koinonia Christian School will host the ASAA 1A Girls Basketball Provincial Championships March 19th to 22nd. And hey, let's look up and down the QE2 for a moment. The University of Alberta Pandas, that's the women's team there, features Red Deer's McKinley Penninga, an alum of Lindsay Thurber, and another Thurber product, Janae Hubert, who also played for the RDP Queens not too long ago. At the University of Calgary, the men's Dinos squad features Bentley's own Declan Peterson, who, by the way, is listed at a sky-high 6'11". Plus, we've had multiple Harlem Globetrotters games in town here, and those are always well attended. So yeah, I'd say if you hear someone say Red Deer is a great place for this CEBL game because hoops are popular here, that's a very accurate statement. Let's not forget, basketball was invented by a Canadian. I'll never forget the Canadian Heritage Moment clip about James Naismith. So this is my challenge to you, Red Deer. Not that you probably need to hear it from me, but let's sell out this game at the Centrium June 19th. Let's make the league want to come back. It's the Surge, the Stingers at the Centrium. Tickets go on sale to the public at 10 a.m. on April 3rd. You can get on the exclusive pre-sale list at surge2reddeer.ca. That's surge, the number 2, reddeer.ca. Let's continue with this discussion about the CEBL. After this quick break, we go to Ian Gustafson and this week's guest, starting with Calgary Surge Vice Chairman and President Jason Ribeiro.
How exciting is it to bring professional basketball here to Red Deer?
It's exciting. It's a little nerve-wracking, but it's also humbling. I think we couldn't be prouder to be a part of growing the sport across the province, along with our counterparts in Edmonton, but to be the first to host a CBL regular season game in what is neutral territory between us and Edmonton is a great honor, and we're so excited to be bringing this event to the people of Red Deer.
Why the decision to give up a home game to play in a neutral site?
I think it was conversations with folks on the ground who said that they were underserved by events bypassing their communities and their towns, even though the sport of basketball and even just opportunities to gather are dwindling. And knowing that if this became the thing to do in our local community, you could get an amazing turnout. And I think that stuck to our bones a little bit and said, hey, where would we want to go first if we wanted to go outside of Calgary? And looking at the geography and looking at the distance between Edmonton and Calgary, it seems suitable. But I have to say, everyone from tourism to county council members to the mayor to businesses that have reached out to us, even just in our due diligence before bringing this event, has really left us inspired and grateful that our initial thought has been confirmed as something that will be really valuable to the people of Red Deer. I also think it doesn't rule out us coming back on an annual basis. I think that's the goal. I don't want to get over my skis here to mix my sports metaphors in, but I think we want this to be successful. We're going to need community support to make that happen, and we're going to earn community support like the energy you saw in this room, the kids you saw in this room today. But certainly I think anything to be able to grow the CEBL, grow the rivalry, of which I will note Calgary has won 7 of our 10 games against the Stingers the last 2 years. Anything to grow that commitment to the league and to the product. And if that results in tickets in Calgary, that results in tickets in Edmonton, all the better. But also, it also gives our fans to go out and get a new experience out in communities maybe they otherwise wouldn't have gone to. So I think there's a responsibility there as well.
For June, is that still pretty early in the season?
It's about midway through.
Okay.
So we'll, I think be well on our way, having launched our first home game the month prior, May 25th. And so we'll have a full month of play to get fans excited about, even for folks wanting to come out to Calgary or to Edmonton to see games. We actually kick off the entire CEBL 7th season in Edmonton on May 11th. So there'll be a number of matchups and games that fans in Red Deer can be able to look online at cebl.ca and watch these games as well to get a taste of professional basketball and what it's going to look like on June 19th.
Could you expand a little bit more on the clinics and stuff that you're going to be holding for some of the local teams?
Yeah, so after we go on public sale, our players arrive at the end of April. One of the biggest things that we do with them, in addition to training camp and getting them situated for a very short but a very action-packed season, is getting them ingratiated into the community. That happens in all 4 corners of Calgary, but I can assure the people of Red Deer that this community will not be overlooked. So we look forward to announcing dates when our players are physically going to come up from Calgary, engage with the local community, just like DT Elite Basketball you saw today, and other community groups, to make sure that we are not just here for one night, that this is an ongoing relationship that is aimed at growing the support for both the sport and the CEBL.
For people coming out to the games, talk about the importance you put on just the fan experience.
Yeah, I think for us, we have a bit of a reputation, for better or worse, as a disruptor in the league. We want to do the coolest things possible, but we also want to reflect what the community wants. And so it allows us to run a lot of experiments. We've had orchestras on the floor. We've had players enter from the audience as the starting 5 got announced. We've had activations for free flights for a year. We've done a number of dance performances and arts performances that reflect the local community, and they change every single game. So as operators, we're truly committed to being both a professional basketball franchise, but also a live arts and entertainment operator. And I think that leaves us with a competitive advantage of making sure that when people buy tickets for this game on April 3rd, they're going to be promised a show, whether that's on the court, off the court, on the concourse, in the plaza outside, maybe with an outdoor basketball court in the parking lot. They will leave this event with value. They will leave this event hopefully clamoring for it for another year next year. But I also think leave with a great sense of pride in their hometown in Red Deer. Our goal in calling it Surge to Red Deer, putting that in the name, was talking about the audaciousness of coming to this community, but making sure that Red Deer was reflected in every decision we make going forward. So if you don't own a shirt that says Red Deer on it, if you don't own a hat that says Red Deer on it, best believe that on June 19th you'll have the opportunity to grab one for you and your family and celebrate all that makes this community great.
Up next, Ian and the assembled media speak with Canadian Elite Basketball League Commissioner Mike Morreale.
So I guess, Mike, just your thoughts on the big announcement bringing the game to Red Deer.
I'm just excited about the expansion of what we've built and be able to have more communities be part of it and experience it firsthand. It's not, when you build a league, you obviously want to go to the markets that make the most sense, that have the population base, all that stuff. And you can't assume that people are going to travel an hour and a half in either direction. So, bringing the game to communities and the experience to the communities is really important in how you grow the game and how you get more kids exposed so they can, watch from the sidelines and dream about being on that court one day.
And Red Deer was a market you thought, had a thirst for basketball?
Well, Red Deer, when you look at kind of the history, certainly this building has a lot to do with it. It's a first-class building. This is a community that rallies around events and sporting events. I know many people that have worked here over the years, even going back to the winter games, that were just so impressed with the community. And even going back when I came here, and I was joking about it, but people are opening up their homes to us. We were just in town, as football guys playing. So I've always felt that, appreciation for the smaller markets because, their needs are just the same, if not more, because they just don't have access to a lot of that stuff. So, it's good on Jason and the Cal Reid team for them to think outside the box, and it'll be our first neutral site game of any measure. So, and that'll continue to grow. You'll probably see this replicated across the country.
What are the long-term aspirations for the league? You're already expanding. You want to expand further? Like Red Deer someday have a team? Or
we have dreams certainly to expand, and there's markets that we would like to get to when we're ready to. We've moved from a single entity league where, one owner owned all of it. And the goal was to always kind of, the field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. And we've, over the course of the last 3 or 4 years, we've been able to sell off 7 of those teams, 7 of the 10. So, now we have the, direct independent ownership and private ownership in all these markets, which really amplifies what's going on. So as we look to expand, we're going to be very careful how we do it, but we certainly we feel like we have the capacity to get to 14 to 16 teams. And there's still certainly enough players, which I think is a big, important factor. There's enough markets that have, the telltale signs of what you need to bring a team to market. But at the same time, we want to continue to refine, our current 10-team model. So I don't think you'll see any immediate expansion in the near future. We're also looking at going to market and doing capital raises to grow the league as is, and bringing outside investment to invest further, because we are, the foundation's been built, and now it's just how can we amplify this to its biggest and best value.
And what are your thoughts on the game itself? Like, do you think Red Deer's going to show up? Do you think there'll be a sellout here?
I do. I really do. I think it's the type of entertainment that basketball brings. It's not just the basketball, it's the culture and art and lifestyle and shoes and fashion. There's a DJ that'll be playing throughout the games. There'll be pre-game activities, there'll be post-game activities. You'll have, play a FIBA-style game, which is a 40-minute game, versus an NBA-style, which is 48 minutes. So you have about a 2-hour window of constant entertainment. And in the summertime, and certainly we're hoping that people come into the air conditioning venue, enjoy some world-class basketball, and I think the amount of work that gets done from this point forward, and being in the community and having players here and having some presence is going to help make that happen.
Finally, Ian and the media at the Centrium with Mayor Ken Johnston.
I guess, Mayor, just your thoughts on bringing the game to Red Deer this summer.
Well, it's extraordinarily special, of course, for us, especially when I find out this morning that we're the only venue where the league has taken the game other than the league teams themselves. So what a tremendous honor for the city. I can tell you, with my experience as mayor, I've got a basketball in my office and all those things, because Red Deer is a basketball city. There is a great following of basketball here in the city. So, tremendous honor. Absolutely.
Do you know, is this the first professional basketball game held in Red Deer that you know of?
Ian, I would have to think about that. But as I said, it's certainly the first game for the CEBL to be outside of their league city. So that's terrific. I think the Globetrotters have been here a time or two, but I would say that as it relates to, something on the line, a game that meant, league standings and so on, I don't believe it's ever occurred before. So pretty special.
And how do you expect Red Deer to, you expect Red Deerians to show up to this game and sell out the place?
No question. We have, as I mentioned in my earlier remarks, we have a reputation for getting behind sporting events and tourism events and those kinds of things. I will say I was really, really impressed with Jason this morning, Jason Ribeiro. He's done his research on Red Deer. He knows the demographics. We saw that with the kids coming through this morning. I look forward, as he said, if he's going to send players here as ambassadors for the league. and to participate that way. To me, it's Minister Scal talked about the word tenacious. I'll use the word authentic when it comes to how this league is looking at markets like Red Deer. They're being genuine, they're being authentic, and it's, June 19th will be one heck of a celebration here, that's for sure.
And I guess would the hope be maybe down the line to bring a team here?
To what, sorry?
To bring a team to Red Deer?
I will say, I said to Jason this morning, what will it take, to have a team? There's obviously the challenges of a league that's still only 7 years old and a market in Calgary that's only 3 years old. So there's some realism about that. Could we stand? As Central Alberta, we have a draw of about 400 to 500,000 people. So when I see some of the team names, Scarborough and so on the listing, is it out of the question? Definitely not. But we'll certainly cut our teeth on this game, and we'll see what happens.
This has been the Everything Red Deer podcast, powered by RD News Now. This podcast is produced and edited by the team at RD News Now and Pattison Media Red Deer. Make sure to download our mobile app and subscribe to our free daily newsletter by visiting rdnewsnow.com. Thanks for listening.